So last Sunday, for those who were or were not here, I made a really bold declaration. And this was my declaration, that the American dream that we have been taught to live by and to achieve is actually the American nightmare. We talked about, that 80% of Americans right now are stressed about money and they're stressed about wealth. And that we are taught in our world, that we're taught in our society, we're taught to live beyond our means and to have instant gratification. And this is also the statement I made last week as well. That the devil, the greatest enemy of God, does not want us to have financial freedom. The devil does not want us to have financial freedom. The devil actually wants us to be stressed and overwhelmed by money. Yet I believe, like I said last week and I'm going to say today, that I think God has a plan and God has a desire for us to experience freedom with our money and not to feel stressed by our money. So let me begin this morning this way, by sharing maybe a common struggle that we face when we think about money and finances, and it goes something like this. Many of us have a bit of the prodigal son in us. So here's how the prodigal son story goes, right? It goes something like this. A man had two sons. One of the sons, the youngest son, demanded a share of his inheritance. And so he got that inheritance from his father. He left home, went to this far-off place, and he squandered and spent everything. And we know that the story is ultimately, the prodigal son story in Luke 15 is ultimately, I think, a story about God's love. And how the love of God takes us back when we've squandered everything. That a picture of God of being all loving and forgiving, this is a picture of that. Of God being loving and forgiving towards us. When we maybe have gone away, wandered away, or done some things maybe that we shouldn't have done. That God's grace is so abundant and clear for us. And so this is a story, part of the story that we often talk about, right? That's kind of how pastors preach about that story about the prodigal son. But I want us to consider actually a different element of the story today. A different aspect of the story that I think fits really well into where we're going in this sermon series. So here now, these words again from Luke 15, 11 through 15. So imagine this. So Jesus said, a certain man had two sons. The younger son said to his father, Father, give me my share of the inheritance. So then the father divided his estate between them. Soon afterward, the younger son gathered everything together. We know that kind of gathered all this stuff, all this money, and took a trip to a far-off land. There, he wasted his wealth through extravagant living. When he had used up his resources, a severe food shortage arose in that country, and he began to be in need. He hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him into his fields to feed pigs. So, that's kind of what's going on in this story. That we hear in this story, a story that Jesus taught about a prodigal son who had bad habits of squandering and spending. And so we often use the word prodigal, which is kind of a churchy word, right? So we often use the word prodigal in the church, and we usually mean this, that someone who is lost, right? Or someone who has wandered away. So like we use words like the wandering son, the lost son, the prodigal son, and yet I don't think that's the real definition of prodigal. But I think the definition of prodigal, the word prodigal literally means one who wastes money. That's the definition of the word prodigal. Someone who's a prodigal is not someone who's lost or wandered away, but someone who's a prodigal is someone who wastes money. Now, I think a prodigal is someone who wastes money, who's spendthrift, and maybe some of us struggle with this habit as well. So the prodigal son wanted his inheritance, he wanted his money and his wealth, and he wanted it now. His inheritance was a piece of the land that was a part of his family's property, and it was meant to kind of provide income for the rest of his life, but he didn't think about kind of the long-term picture, right? He didn't care about his whole life. What did he want? He wanted the money, and he wanted it now. He was not concerned about tomorrow or what was coming in the future. He really just wanted his inheritance, wanted his money, and he wanted to have a party and fun and thrill of a day. He didn't care about his long-term financial picture. He only wanted some cash, and he only wanted some dough right now. So I think this is part of the nightmare that Americans feel now. Maybe this is probably not universal, so I'm going to use the word some. Some of us. We like to think about today when we think about our finances. That enough thinking about today, I think, will lead us to this kind of constant worry and stress about tomorrow. I think this is where it shows up in our life, right? When we think about gadgets or items for our house or fun stuff that can satisfy us today, I think we neglect to plan for tomorrow. The kind of this thrill of money and stuff today kind of just captures us that it's hard sometimes to think about like the 5 or 10 or 20 year thinking around money. So maybe that's some of us. That we're really quick to spend in maybe an extravagant way. Maybe that we spend a lot of money, and yet as we spend that money, are we worried and concerned about kind of the long-term picture for us? And this is my fear, I think, around this, is maybe there's this deeper concern. It's not just about concern for tomorrow, but it's a concern of what happens if our car breaks down, or we have a medical need, or our AC or heating goes out. And it's in those moments we feel like we don't have enough money to pay for those things. I think sometimes this happens to us when we're like the prodigal son. This prodigal son, when we want to think about today, and sometimes we neglect to think about tomorrow or this long-term financial picture. Maybe that's you, maybe that's not. But maybe you're like something else. Maybe you don't find yourself like that, actually. Maybe you've done a good job about thinking about tomorrow. That you thought about today, but you're also kind of thinking about tomorrow and kind of a long-term picture. And I think what happens for those kind of people, for those of us, that I think in those moments we become wasteful and extravagant, sometimes throwing our money away. I think this is where it happens, actually, that we burn money to buy things that we probably don't need, or maybe just simply unnecessary. And this is my sense, actually, with those who maybe are planning or thinking about the future financially. This is my sense. I think that the more financially secure we become as people, the more financially secure we become in our families or individual lives, the less we worry about the little spending. Kind of the spending, the here and the there. Something like the $10 here, the $40 here, the $5 here, and it's not that a big deal. And so money kind of flows through our fingers, and maybe it's a position where we're not as careful, or we're not as concerned as maybe we once were with finances, when things were tighter, or maybe as we should be today. So I've kind of tried to build two pictures for you now. But whatever camp you find yourself, or maybe you feel like you're a blend of all of it, consider this, actually. I think every dollar we choose to use is a dollar that could be used for something more meaningful. I'll say that again. Every dollar we choose to use is a dollar that could be used for something more meaningful. Something that could have a more lasting impact in the world, in God's world, or even in our own world. But I think every dollar that we waste, however we want to define waste in this moment, is a dollar that could have been used to accomplish our life purpose and desire. So let's think about it this way. I think thinking about why we exist is really important when we think about money. Money within itself is not bad, right? Having money, thinking about money. Money within itself is not bad, but Jesus says that the love of money is the root of all evils. So money within itself is not bad, but rather money is a way of accomplishing our end, accomplishing something great with our life. Money has the potential to accomplish maybe our life purpose. So money can be good. Money can be bad. Basically depending on how we use it and how we view it and how we value it. I think money is a tool or possibly a tool that can be used to accomplish something much greater. So I want us to ask these 3 questions this morning of ourselves. So what is my life about? Why do I exist? And am I spending my money in a way that is consistent with my life purpose? I'll say it again. What is my life about? What is it about? Why do I exist? And am I spending my money in a way that is consistent with my life purpose? I think these 3 questions are actually really important, and the answers of them are even more important. So we could say things like this. We could say that our life is to be a good person, to go through life just being pretty okay, and being pretty good. Or maybe we're kind of, you don't have to care of the world, you're relaxed, go with the flow, and so my life purpose is kind of just like going through life, and it just be okay. Or is there a deeper reason why you exist? And maybe that's something that you felt God has told you, maybe that's something that you have discovered in your life, but why do you exist? Why are you on this earth? And so does God have a claim on your life? And how does our spiritual life impact our life's purpose? Because here's the reality. If we can't identify this, our society tells us that our life purpose is to consume, to make as much money as possible, and to spend as much money as possible. That's what the society tells us to do with money, right? Work a lot, earn some money, get a good salary, and then spend it all. Or spend a lot of it. Or at least maybe 80%, whatever the percentage is. Right? But the world tells us that that's kind of the circular motion of money. But surely, as Christians, I think we know that just can't be right. So here's the thing. I want to share 2 money wasters that can get in the way. But here's the thing, before Hayden puts up the first one. We're friends, right? We're friends. Okay. As long as we're friends. Here's the first money waster. Impulse buying. It's so easy and so tempting to walk into a store, something catches our attention, and we think, I've got to have one. I just got it. I have this picture or this place in my house or in my car or my office where this thing just has to go, right? And as much as I gave advertisers a hard time last week, because I really did, advertisers give them a hard time. Sometimes we're our own worst enemies. When it comes to wanting something that we really don't need. And so we can see this simply, right? Simply about going to the grocery store, right? We go to the grocery store with a modest list of 2 or 3 or 10 items, and we come home with 50 items that we may have not or may need it, right? We can go to the milk. This is what I would go to the store for, okay? Go to the grocery store for milk and bread, and then I see Oreos. Because I got the milk. So now I need something to dip in the milk, right? Or I see my favorite kind of chips. Right? Or I see this thing that we really need. Actually, Hannah doesn't let me go to the grocery store. Because she is concerned, honestly, that I'm going to come home with too much stuff. Because I am guilty of impulse buying at times. Especially when it comes to food, right? It can happen if we go to the grocery store with an empty stomach, or we go to the grocery store with no list at all. Or we don't have self-control with our list. But we're also lured into buying at times when we see a 4-letter word. Do you know what's the word? Sale. Are we tempted when we see sale, right? It's an advertiser's golden thing, right? Whether it's on sale or not, whether we know how much the sale actually is, we see those 4 letters and what do we think? Bargain. It's a bargain. I gotta buy it in this. Because here's the reality. We don't always shop for what we need. We often shop for what we want. We don't shop for what we need, we shop for what we want. Did I step on my toes yet? Okay, let's go to, are you ready for number 2? Okay, eating out. Here's my public confession, okay? This is the number one money waster in the bachelor single Sledge budget. So when I was single, this was like my this was like where I wasted, if I may use that word, wasted the most money. According to the Personal Finance magazine, this is the average American eats out 4 times a week. If a family of 4 were to eat out 4 times a week, 52 weeks in a year, they would roughly spend about $10,000 eating out in a given year. Okay. If that same family of 4 would eat in those 4 meals in a year, 4 meals in a week, 52 weeks in a year, they would only spend maybe about $5,000 to $6,000. So it's like half. It's half. We spend half as much money as eating out than we actually need to if we just ate it. Now here's the thing, because your pastor likes eating out, and so I'm not suggesting that we never eat out. Okay? I'm not suggesting that we never impulse buy. Because that would be foolish, and I love going to Brothers Pizza, and I love going to Pura Vida Coffee. I'm just wondering this. If we eat out too often, if we impulse shop too often, and it's actually a money waster in our life. And here's the thing, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not telling you to not eat out for your health. But I actually wonder, what does that say about us spiritually and how we understand our life purpose, and then how we spend our money? So with impulse buying and eating out, how are we telling our money where it should go? And how does it help us accomplish our life purpose? Why do we exist? What do we want our life to be about? And then how does our spending support or detract from that life purpose? Because here's the deal. I think we were created for more than just being prodigals. We were created for more than just being, as a prodigal is, someone who spends, squanders money. That we were created as people of God to love God and love our neighbors as ourselves. That our great commission as a church is to make new disciples of Jesus Christ. That we were created to care for families and to care for those in need. So this woman named Barbara, she's a motivational speaker who conducts workshops for large companies. One day she was speaking at an event for the employees of a grocery store chain. She talked to them about how she saw their life purpose, suggesting that their work was more than stocking shelves, that their work was more than ringing up customers' food purchases or delivering supplies. She then told them that every person they met was an opportunity to bless them, to live out a higher calling or mission. The employees were inspired by her words, including one 19-year-old grocery bagger named Johnny, 19 years old, and has Down syndrome. He took her words to heart. He went home and tried to think of ways that he could be a blessing to others. Finally, he came up with a plan. Each night, he would search the internet for a positive saying that would encourage people. Then, he would print out 300 copies and carefully cut them into individual strips. The next day, he would put one of the sayings in the grocery bag of each of his customers while saying, "I put a saying in your bag. I hope it helps you have a good day. Thanks for coming here." A month later, the manager noticed that Johnny's line was much longer than others. Even when he announced that there were no waiting lines, even when he announced that there was no one waiting in lines 2 or 3, no one budged. People wanted Johnny to be their bag boy. He touched them and filled them with hope. Johnny got it. He was pursuing a mission that was bigger than his own instant gratification. So what about us? Are we pursuing a mission with our money that is bigger than our own personal satisfaction? Jesus once taught us that we can't serve 2 masters. We can't serve God and money. Jesus knew so many years ago that we as Christians can't have a love of wealth, a pursuit of money, and have a life that is committed to God. We can't serve two masters. We know that money is not bad, but it's the love of money. It's the maybe selfish pursuit of money. So we are here. So what's going on with us? Are we more in love with God? Or are we more in love with money and wealth? So if we want to be people who know why we exist, if we are people who are wanting to love God more, who are wanting to have a more faithful relationship with Jesus Christ, if we're people who are wanting to surrender more in our life, I think we need to have a plan. I think we need to know why we exist. But here's the thing. I think we also need to have a plan for how we even understand the resources that God has given us in the first place. So I'm going to offer quick 6 financial planning principles. You've probably heard these before. But I thought as we're going through this Money Enough sermon series, I needed just to say this at one point. Just to kind of offer some quick financial planning principles that maybe you're doing or maybe you're not, but maybe could help us have more freedom with our money. So I'm going to go through them, and I only touch on a few of them. The first one is this. Offer your tithe and offering first. So here's the deal. You hear pastors say this, right? You've been in the church for a couple of years. You've heard about pastors talk about tithe and putting that the first 10%. But here's the deal. As I was reflecting upon that this week, it's more, I think, to me than just putting that first 10%, whatever that percentage would be. But here's the deal. If we can put God first in our money, I think that helps translate in every other area of our life. If we can't put God first with our money, then how can we put God first in our marriage, in our family, or our time? But if we can practice putting God first, whatever that looks like for you, I think that helps us put God first in every other area of our life. Because if we don't do it here with our money, it's so tempting and easy to not put it anywhere else. That God and everywhere else is just 2 or 3 or 4 on that priority list. So for me, as this principle, and we're going to get here in a couple of weeks, but for me, I think this helps us put God first in everything that we do. And then number 2 is this. This is not new. Create a budget and track your expenses. Parameters in our life are good, right? So we have parameters on the road, and we call them speed limits. And if we go above the speed limit, sometimes we get pulled over, and we get a ticket or not, right? So there are parameters on our road, and I see a budget and tracking as a parameters for how we go through life and how we spend our money. It's the parameters of our financial road. Number 3. To simplify your lifestyle, to live below your needs. I think this is a powerful one. Like I said last week, we're taught to live above our needs. We're like encouraged to live above our needs. But how do we live below them? And number 4, establish an emergency fund. Number 5, pay off your credit cards. Use cash debit cards for purchases and use credit wisely. And 6, practice long-term savings and investing habits. So here's the deal. I'm not a financial planner. It's not my job. I have no training in it. But I wonder if these 6 principles, and maybe principles that you've been taught over the years, maybe they can help us have financial freedom to truly accomplish our purpose in life. Because I think we're in a season where we can no longer be dominated by the American nightmare or dream, whatever you call it. I think if we want freedom in our finances, if we want God to speak into our finances, we have to hold up our end of the deal by choosing to have some financial principles in our life. So this is what I want you to do this week. So as you think about finances this week, as you think about wealth and personal situation, as you think about what your spending is like, I want you to consider this question. How does my spending in this moment align with my purpose in life? How does my spending in this moment align with the purpose with my purpose in life? This is also what I want you to do. I want you to go back over the last week. I don't know how you track your spending. Figure out, maybe find a way to track that if you have the capacity. But I want you to look back and look at what you spent in the last week. Put some categories together, like groceries, or giving, or entertainment, or meals, or whatever. I want you to look at those numbers and then evaluate. How does our spending and how we view money fulfill what maybe God has called us to do? Because every time we spend a penny, even a penny, even every time we spend a penny, a dime, $10 or $100, I think we have to be asking the question, how does our faith influence that spending? Because our money shouldn't influence our faith. Money doesn't influence our faith, but our faith influences our money. So how does your money and spending align with the purpose in life? What's that like for you? I want you to consider that this week. Let us pray together. Actually, I pray in this moment of frustration. A frustration in our world and society that tells us that we're to do things maybe that you don't want us to do. So God, I pray for repentance of my heart and repentance of our hearts for maybe the ways that we have been like the prodigal son, who squandered and spent. But God, I know there's grace and freedom in you as the Lord of our life. Well, God, would you give us freedom? Freedom through our repentance and freedom through our planning. To use and be good stewards of the money that you first gave us. So God, I invite you to come into all of our lives this week. Come, speak, give us wisdom and clarity and conviction around our money, which is ultimately your money. God, thank you for this time and this space. In the name of the gracious and loving Savior named Jesus Christ, we all say.